Play a little music for our intro. This is Concrete Blonde, very appropriate for the times. I need to wipe off my camera. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go. I had the filter on. Okay, there we go. Just making sure you can hear me. Shoot to kill ya. Blame each other. Well, let's blame ourselves. It's a bullet hell. Mercy almost everyone. I'm going to wait until noon to get this party started. Then I'll join the PD. They'll see. Rex, my little Reiki cat, is in here right now. Decided to come join the party. Gonna wait. Okay, there we go. There we go. Yay. Thank you, Concrete Blonde. Let's blame ourselves. Have mercy, almost everyone. Cheers, baby. Well, on that note, it's been a day, huh? It's been a week. It's been a year. It's been a lifetime. I am Genevieve from Mama Bear Medicine. Hi, everybody. It's good to meet you. Thanks for being here with me today or in the future when you're watching this. I wanted to share a little bit about. First of all, I'm in the relaunch process of Mama Bear Medicine. I took a step back during the pandemic, as a lot of us did. The work that I do is the way that I had been practicing it was in person, and some of the things that Spirit tells me to do can be quite intimate and involves like sucking and breathing and so that just wasn't part of our game in the pandemic, obviously, and we're still kind of working that stuff out. So who am I? Who is Mama Bear Medicine, and how did I come to this path? Well, I think it's been a lifetime, if not lifetimes, of work and practice that have led me in this direction. Part of what happened during the pandemic is that I discovered that the time on my birth certificate was wrong. I was not born at 9:30 in the morning. I was born at 9:30 at night. And I had listened to the story of my birth my whole life from my mother and never put the two together when I would go to do my astrological charts. And then I had a moment of realization that this is not correct. No wonder. So if you know anything about astrology, a 12-hour difference will completely change your chart. I discovered I wasn't a Libra rising. I'm an Aries rising and an Aries moon balanced out with my Virgo sun. It's a lot of fire. I've already lost the thread of why I brought that up. Lots of changes in the pandemic. Just getting to know myself a little bit better. Maybe that's where I was really trying to go with that. So I guess let's start with my background. Shamanic Journey Work and I'm a shamanic journey worker, and I am a Reiki master. And so in 2000, I was studying with this guy, this anthropologist named Hank Wesselman. And before we broke for spring break, he taught us about something called soul retrieval, and about what happens when we are traumatized. And it can be a little trauma or it can be a really big trauma. And in indigenous cultures, there is this idea of soul loss, that when we go through a trauma, let's say we get into a car accident, that a piece of our soul will leave so that the rest of us can survive that situation. And then if everything is going well, that soul piece comes back when the trauma is complete. And there's no problems. But occasionally, that soul piece, either the trauma that we're experiencing is chronic and systemic. And so that soul piece never feels comfortable or safe to come back, or sometimes it just kind of gets lost out there, gets, stuck wherever it left to and went to for safety. And that soul loss can contribute to chronic depression and a lack of vitality, and feeling really disconnected from our bodies. And it can also leave holes in our energetic body, that allow for disease to come in. So it's actually, not so different from our idea of how we get sick in Western culture. So when I came back, some things happened over spring break that were traumatic for me. And I was already in psychotherapy at the time. I had been really dealing with chronic depression since I was 13 years old. Um, and when I came back from spring break after that trauma, I approached Hank and I said, it's time. Psychotherapy is not going to necessarily be the complete um, antidote to what this trauma was, and I want to get in touch with Jill Kirkendall, Hank's wife, to experience a soul retrieval session. So that's what I did. I went and I had my first soul retrieval session. I ended up doing another few sessions with her, and then very quickly discovered that this was a path for me, and that I wanted the direct path of revelation. I wanted to be trained in this kind of work, so that I could have my own facility with it, and then that I could go out and help other people to experience I guess, the healing that I had experienced through this process. So that's what I did. In 2001, I went down to Esalen and I started studying. I went and did the Vision Seeker 1 course with Hank and Jill. And then when I came back, Jill had formed a drumming circle, a shamanic drumming circle, so that we could study with her once a month. And I believe that I did that for like 4 years, if memory serves, which my memory is not always so accurate as far as time. So that was very formative in this path and my esoteric education. Let's see. And then after that, I had an opportunity to go meet this Sundance chief named Chief Golden Light Eagle. And we packed up the car with, I think, like 7 other people. We formed a caravan and we drove out to Iowa. And I experienced the Lakota Sundance. And my world was once again blown open. Um, so one of the things that Eagle had said and practiced was that if you want to be on this particular path, that Reiki is the beginning. You get activated, and I like to draw in challenges through relationship, through intimate partnership. That's part of my tantric walk. Um, And, I was going through a challenging time with a boyfriend at the time, and I thought, "Okay, this is my moment. Um, I'm I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna just jump in and do this Reiki training." And again, I had had a Reiki session with a woman who I was recommended, Anjali Devi, up in Nevada City to go see, and it was so powerful. And so I joined her for her level 1 attunement course, and I was hooked. There is not really a way to explain what happens when you start shifting your energy around, but she was able to address some roots, I guess, of, what was causing me pain in that moment, and it's so subtle, but it's so overt, and I looked back after that first session, like 3 months later and saw how much my life had really changed, and I attributed it to that modality of healing. So, I have had 3 different, Reiki teachers in my life. The first level was Anjali Devi, and the second level was Bonnie Cummings, in Sacramento, and she incorporated hypnotherapy and qigong into her practice. So when I got my level 2 attunement, we started to practice a little bit of hypnotherapy and how to train the mind and the brain for new thought patterns. And we practiced qigong to feel the energy running through our body. Reiki to me is really another way to join the mind and the body. And if you don't feel like you're really connected with your body, or you're constantly trying to escape, Reiki is a really wonderful practice to get you anchored in and process and change, transmute any of that psychology that wants to pop you out of the body. So, I stayed at a level 2 practitioner for a few years. I was really comfortable with that. Level 2 is a wonderful place to hang out. I mean, they're all wonderful. The first level of Reiki helps you, it's for self-healing. So, for me, I always recommend if somebody's gonna do this process that they take time to do it. I like taking time. I kinda walk like a turtle in this life in some ways, despite all of that fiery Aries. Um, so the first level is, self-healing, and you get activated so that your Reiki master can, you're like part of the collective soup that your Reiki master gets to, tap into when he or she is calling on the universal life force energy for, a healing session. And, level 2 is where you get activated to start using Reiki is broken into 2 words, by the way, so Rei and Ki, and it means universally, spiritually guided universal life force energy. So think about the mana of the Hawaiians or the chi of the Chinese, or in Buddhism, the ki, right? That personal energy that we all have. And in fact, I'm an animist. So as far as I see, uh, um, the universal life force energy is just that. It runs through absolutely everything, even the dinner table that I'm sitting at, or the cars that drive on the street. Everything in existence has an aspect, a dream aspect that we can see and work with in the dream time. So that'll come in a little bit. Um, so then in at the end of 2013, my father passed away really suddenly, and here was another pain point that these are always moments in my life that seem to, pull me forward, push me forward, I guess. And, with his passing and the processing of all of that, I felt like it was time. It was finally time to get my mastery attunement. So I called on Nicole Duran of Raise the Vibration Studios in Arizona. She and I had been talking to each other for a little bit, and I'd always known that she would be my Reiki master to train me in my mastery. She was associated with the Star Knowledge crew from Chief Golden Light Eagle. So and she also has, excuse me, the most direct lineage from Madame Takata. I think she's seventh in line from Madame Takata. So in the Reiki pantheon, Dr. Usui started this healing modality in the 50s in Japan. And then Madame Takata from Hawaii, she went and studied with him. She had, I believe it was cancer, and she went over to get healed. And she basically sold everything she had so she could go to Japan and start working with Dr. Usui on this technique. And then she came back to Hawaii. And that's where a lot of people, a lot of us, get our training through is the Takata lineage. So Nicole, I believe, is seventh or eighth in line from that lineage. And so I've been working with Nicole ever since July 4th weekend of 2014, and almost immediately started practicing in a professional capacity after that. So throughout this time, I have continued to study and support the group of Plains Indians who took me in, I guess, with some of these sacred ceremonies. And so my education, my esoteric education, has continued to evolve through learning some of the Native American traditions. And I think that some of us can get pulled into this idea of Native American traditions as thinking of it like a pan-Indian. And by the way, I use the term Indian because when I stay out on the res, that's what, like I just stayed with some of the Choctaw Nation, that's what they call themselves. So I apologize if I am offending anybody. I'll probably use the term Indian and Native American back and forth. Um, And there, I lost my train of thought again. Oh, dang. Okay, pan-Indianism. There is no such thing. So some of the ideas and beliefs and traditions are similar, but the songs are different, and they really are different practices. So depending on which tribe you're going to practice with, you will have, different ways of being. That's just a side note. So after I had packed everything away and ran off to drive around the country and do ceremony with, like I stayed out in Pennsylvania with a medicine woman for a little while and learned about a little bit about food as medicine. She is a very powerful medicine woman that has been able to completely transform and heal people in the physical by just altering their diets. And so I had spent, I think at that point, maybe 15 years behind the line as a professional cook. And I knew it was time for me to transition out of kitchens. It had always been a love-hate relationship for me. I had never looked at working in restaurants as like the end all be all. I knew that it was a stepping stone for me, but it is a big passion of mine. So that's what like provoked me to go stay with Unchikaya. And then after staying with her and learning what I could in the moment, she was the one who illuminated me to the fact that I'm a celiac and that I really shouldn't be eating dairy and that it's doing all of these crazy shenanigans in my body. And so then I knew it was time to come back to civilization, to California, really. 5 generations of my family have lived here in the Bay Area. And this land is it's like in my bones, and the air is in my lungs, and the water of the Bay Area runs through my blood. And so there's always a pull in my heart and my soul to come here, to come back. Um, so I did. I came back and I was kind of like, what am I doing here? Spirit, you gotta clue me in. You gotta make it easy because it's really hard. After being in such a state of bliss and not really having, you're traveling around all the time, and you're always in ceremony. And so there's a way that um, the stresses and the pressures of life here don't creep in, but then you get thrown back and it's like, oh my God, I know I'm not supposed to be cooking in kitchens. I could not get a job in a kitchen either to save my life. So it was like, okay, what am I doing here? So I remember standing on the street corner. I was homeless at the time, and I was standing on the street corner in the financial district. I was about to go meet a friend for coffee, and I remember talking to spirit like a real San Francisco homeless person, going, you know, this is hard, and I don't know what I'm doing here, and you got to make it easier for me if you want me to stick around, because I'm thinking about getting my own ticket out of here. So let me know, buddy. And it seems like very shortly thereafter, I met someone who would become my husband, the man who would become my husband. And honestly, when I met him, I thought he was just the messenger. I thought he was just here for a good time. I was finally at a point in my life, in my intimate relationships, where I wasn't looking for a husband anymore. I wasn't looking for the one. I was just looking to have a good time and, like, let's date. Time's ticking, and thinking about every man who I was involved with as the potential for long-term partnership had gotten me into a whole lot of hot water, and it didn't work. So it was like, okay, we're going to try a different strategy now. And so my husband met me, I think, for our second date, and he brought me a flyer for this guy named Erwan Davon. And Erwan had one of the star knowledge symbols as his logo for his business, the Davon method. It was the Caminila symbol, the symbol of sacred change, but he also used it as the symbol for the feminine, if you know what I mean. So I really took that as a sign. When I saw that, I could feel it go through my body, and I knew that I needed to take that course. I had been on a call with one of my spiritual grandmothers before that, Grandma Reverend Jean Holmes, because I was in a really bad place emotionally, and so I called her and I said, "Hey, I need help." And she's also an astrologer, and so she read my chart and she said, "Oh, you've got like 7 planets in Libra right now. You're going through this huge transition, and you won't get out of this without having a relationship." So she had suggested that I learn how to have a relationship. Um, and I just thought that was such a novel idea. Like, holy crap. I I can learn how to have a successful relationship. And then all of a sudden, a week later, here's this guy with the star knowledge symbol on there. And he's telling me that I can take a course to learn how to have a really amazing relationship. Okay, I got to do this. Well, if you remember, I was homeless at the time and I didn't have a steady job. And I'm living in the Bay Area, like the most expensive place on the planet. So I begged, borrowed, and stole, and I got the $1,000 that it took to gain entrance into that amazing course, the pleasure course. And my life truly did change after that. So, the pleasure course is what started me on officially on my tantric path. What I woke up to after that was that Tantra is just one of the three paths to spiritual enlightenment, and it happens to be the quickest path, and it's also because it's the quickest, the most fraught with pain and challenge. So I realized after doing work with Erwan and Alicia Davon for 5 years that and I'm sorry, I'm seeing unable to connect to chat. I don't know what's going on with that. Let me see. Participants. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal because I don't think anybody else is here right now. Anyway, hmm, I don't know why that's here we go. There we go. Woohoo! We got the chat working. I'm learning. Oh gosh. So anyway, what I was saying is that after I took the pleasure course and I really officially launched onto the tantric path, I realized, holy crap, I've been working this tantric material my whole life. So I studied with Erwin and Alicia Davon every week for, and more than that, for 5 years. And then after my daughter was born, I took a step back. Oh gosh. So here I've got all my notes. So you'll see me. I'm looking over here. So that's a lot of what led me to the work that I do right now. And I had been working this material professionally as Mama Bear Medicine since 2014. I don't know that that moniker had come in yet, but and what I took the first couple of years to just throw it out there and say to everybody, hey, I've got my Reiki mastery. I'm going to do new moon circles. Why don't you come on over? We'll have some practice. We'll do a little ceremony. And I just observed who showed up for this because I was still in this position of wondering, okay, well, what am I doing with this? Great, I'm a Reiki master, but who do I want to work with? Who's showing up? What are we working on? What wants to be transformed? And then how do we marry all of these potentially disparate uh, tools in my coffers to work, in union with each other? Um, so throughout the years, the people who showed up were by and large women, and women ranging from about 28 to 45. So 28 is often about the time that we all go through our Saturn return, and that there's like big stuff that comes up that is here to show us what our shadow is, and all of this stuff that we don't want to deal with. What are the stories that we're playing out that might or might not be serving us anymore, or that are exactly that? They're just stories. And do we want to change them? So 28 can be very pivotal in people's lives. It's often, when either you graduated from college a couple years before, or you never graduated from college, or maybe you just graduated from college because you did your under or your graduate work. But it's usually this time when you're like, okay, I can see that adulthood, like official adulthood, is coming sooner than later, and I need to make some big decisions. It's a time when people might be choosing a career path. Maybe they're changing their career path. Maybe they're choosing to get married, or maybe they're choosing to get their first divorce, or have a child. There's big things on the table. And then 45, for me, the women who have come to work with me have all been working on mama bear issues. So either in the beginning, it was a lot of women who were trying to get pregnant, and they wanted help either with the implantation. Maybe they had been going through some miscarriages, and they wanted to have some assistance and with the grief that comes up with all of that, or they wanted help with the implantation of the egg, um, or they were really trying to decide, I'm super ambivalent about this whole motherhood journey. Is this really the right path for me? Excuse me. So that's where I really started to hone in on this mama bear energy. And then my daughter was born. So I got married at the beginning of 2016. Um, and then very quickly, we went on our honeymoon and we came back, and I took Alex. We did a drop in for a couple days to Sundance that year. And then a week later, I got pregnant. And I remember calling up my naturopath who had helped me with a lot of other health issues. And I said, well, is there any chance that any of the supplements that you have me on could be giving me a false positive? And she let me know that this was a miracle baby. My little daughter was a miracle baby, and she really is. She's my miracle. That at that point, my endocrine system had taken a really big hit, and that I should not have been able to sustain that pregnancy, but I did, and she has really transformed my life as children do. Um, so when she came out, she I don't know how to say this. Let me take a drink of water. A couple things happened. She ignited a fire inside of me. I knew that it was time. It was all of those 20 years that I spent behind the line in kitchens, knowing that this just wasn't the right thing. And I remember when I was practicing with Hank and Jill and asking Hank, like, can you just tell me what I'm supposed to be doing on this planet? Because I don't know, and it's really frustrating, and I just want somebody to tell me so that I can do it. Well, I spent those 20 years searching, and now I knew what it was. I knew what it was that I was supposed to be doing, but I have this tiny little baby, you know? And so, there was, like, a little bit of frustration with that, and also, all of these things, all of these female things that I thought that I had dealt with through psychotherapy and through shamanic journey work and through transformational growth and development work. And I really thought that I had put them to rest. Well, they were activated again. I passed a human consciousness through my second and first chakras, and that activated some shit. All of the sexual trauma from my past that I thought that I had dealt with had resurfaced so that I could deal with it more deeply. And again, um, what a blessing, but I'll tell you, it was not easy. So with her on the outside, about 6 months into her life, I said, "Okay, it's time. It's time for me to reform the new moon groups, and let people know I'm open for business again." And so a lot of those first sessions that I did with clients were done with her strapped to my body, just like a mama bear. This is traditional medicine. Um, so my practice had evolved, and I was at a point where I was bumping up against my own psychology about getting out there and being seen and moving forward and being willing to be visible to gain a bigger audience and get more people through the door, because we live in a world that requires money. And, in the most expensive city on the planet, a girl's got to make a living. Um, so when when the orders came for lockdown, um, I had just started to hit my stride. I was so proud of myself. Of course, right? I think a lot of us were moving in a certain direction. We were really, you know, really getting into the groove, and then we had all these plans, grand plans, and lockdown happened. And I do distance work. I know the efficacy of distance work, and yet I felt in that moment that it was super hard to make that transition. So, I took the opportunity to do weekly Reiki sound baths online with my friend Josh, who is a sound healer, and we did that for a few months, and it was really sweet. Um, and then and then reality started to hit, as it did for so many of us, that this isn't going to take 2 weeks or 4 weeks or a couple months. This is a long time thing. And So I reached out to a couple of astrologers to see, okay, well, what is happening? I was pretty depressed, as I think a lot of us were, and there was another big transit occurring. This time it was my midlife crisis, and I remember talking to one of these astrologers saying, "Well, how do I tell the difference between my personal midlife crisis and what's happening on the planet? Because I can't tease those apart." So this couple years of a hiatus and a journey has been to really take a good look at, okay, well, first, do I really want to do this work? Yes, absolutely. And I do this work whether I'm sick or well, or whether I have clients or not. I'm doing esoteric research. I'm studying all of these crazy woo woo things. I'm practicing ceremony, I'm singing the songs, I'm offering tobacco. This is just how I live my life. Um, so, okay, it's time. It's time to get out there and get visible. And that's part of when I made this transition from saying, I realize the importance of a long term container. So I have switched how I price my work. So if you want to come and see me, your first session is $144. That's the introductory rate. And that's so that we can really get to know each other. You can really feel for yourself what a session with Mama Bear is all about. And you can feel the impact in your own life. And usually, when people decide to take on a new modality like this, it's because the pain in their life has gotten to a point where they cannot tolerate it anymore, and they want to turn to alternatives. And so let me take this moment to say right now, I am not a healthcare practitioner. This is not supposed to take the place of Western medicine or nutrition or physical therapy, or I am part of the team. I am not a replacement for anyone on the team. This is spirit medicine. I work in the dream time. So we are looking at the layers of your consciousness, your unconscious. I can work in tandem with psychotherapists. This is also not a spiritual bypass. If you come to me to do this kind of work, you got to do the work. There's going to be stuff that surfaces that I'm here to support you and to help you see things that you might not see on your own, and then to walk you through that process. And we use maybe a life of metaphor and story and fairy tale to help you make that transition in your life, to come home to yourself, to piece these, to regain the pieces of your soul. Um, so, what I was saying about the pricing structure, you can definitely do one-offs with me. That is absolutely an option, and those are $333 for a one-time session after your introductory session. For me, if I know that you're coming in, I abstain from drinking any alcohol for 24 hours at least. And everybody who follows me knows how much I love my wine. Old habits die hard. One of the things about that kept me in the restaurant industry for so long was my penchant for the finer things in life. I love a fancy bottle of champagne, and I haven't always been able to afford it. So when you're in the restaurant business, you get to rub elbows with all of the wine brokers and and the top chefs, and go out to fancy meals and not have to pay full price. Um, so taking 24 hours off, consciously, is a big deal. But also, I do a lot of research, and I'll do a shamanic journey on your behalf before we go into session, and really get acquainted. So there's a lot of behind the scenes prep work, and I gotta clean the house, and I gotta get all of the materials ready. So um, it's not just the 2 hours that we have together. Uh, Now my preference is, like I said, a lot of people who come to see me, my preference is for longer term containers. My preference is that we get to work together for the 13 moons package that I have created. And that's 13 sessions and a year of support. The 13 sessions, you can space them out however you want to. You can do 13 sessions in a row if you want, with the exception of weekends. I work banker's hours because I'm a mom, and my first commitment and my first priority is to my family and my daughter. And so that's why I work Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Um, and Anyway, when people come to me, like I said, it's because there's an intolerable pain that they need help with, um, and they've tried all of the usual suspects for helping to alleviate that pain, and now they're coming to me. So miracles can happen in one session. Absolutely, miracles can happen, and generally speaking, it takes longer to get at the heart of what caused that pain in your life. So let's say you're going through a divorce, or you're you're at your wit's end with your child. You've tried all the things, you've read all the books, you listen to the podcasts, and you're done. Or maybe you really want to get into a relationship, and you keep striking out. Or maybe you're a woman who just wants to know what she wants to eat for dinner, or what she wants to wear for the day. And that's just a real challenge. And so it takes longer to uncover why, and then to heal that. Um, So in the process of our work together, I've already mentioned soul retrieval. Sometimes that is something that happens and then that we are called to do. I never know until we get into session with each other what is going to be the right move for you. Sometimes after I've been working with a client for a while, a dismemberment process will be called for. And that is a dismemberment process is where we ask all of your helpers and guides and support system in the dream time to step away and to allow whatever forces come in to tear you apart limb from limb. Um, and then after they've torn you apart, they put you back together, and they leave out anything that doesn't serve you anymore. And so that is a really big process, and that requires a long-term commitment, because I would not be in integrity if I led you through that process and then left you on your own. Um, Also, whatever happens in the dream time, you can expect to show up in your daily life. Uh, so you can imagine if you get torn limb from limb and eaten up and digested and then put back together, what that looks like uh, in in your waking life. That's going to look like, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to look like a big move or a career change, or a partner change, or maybe it's going into rehab, or who knows what will show up. But I really need to be there with you. Sometimes what can happen too, why I like the longer format container, is that people want to hide. We want to hide from ourselves. We want to hide from others. We want to put on a front, a shield of protection for ourselves in some ways. We want to have the shiny mask for all to see, and it can be unnerving for people when they get on the table to realize that there is no hiding, that somebody can see and feel that energy. And so when you have a longer term container, you are strongly encouraged then to show up for that. And that it takes courage, but that's also where the healing lies, because we get to see what's happening, and then we get to work together and transform that. Okay, what is dismemberment? What is soul retrieval? What is psychic surgery? This is something that just came up in a session recently. I was trained on psychic surgery a long, long time ago. And sometimes there are things in our system that have been put in place after potentially lifetimes of the same pattern happening. And so in psychic surgery, we go in and we do whatever is necessary. Maybe it's, entity removal. Maybe it's removing steel girders that keep your body separated, your mind separated from your body. Maybe there's a block in the throat that keeps your higher self from being able to access your heart or speak what you need to manifest properly in this lifetime. So that's when psychic surgery can come in. And those are just a few of the things that you might experience in a session with Mama Bear. Currently, I'm in a certification program for trauma-informed leadership. And so this is a year-long certification process where we are directly addressing how to heal, how to be with, and how to heal trauma in a good way. A lot of people, I mean, it's a hot topic these days. There's a lot of trauma that's being inflicted on us daily. And there's a lot of people who say that they are trauma informed. And I'm sure that many are, and others who might not be so much. So I'm working with a woman named Jennifer Underwood and her co-facilitator, Tim DeSutter, to get that certification under my belt. I have some group programs planned for the future that have to do with women in anger and connecting to our passion, and directly accessing our birthright to sexual pleasure. And trauma comes up with all of that. So I felt that it was in the most integrity to have an official certification about that. So I'm in the process of that right now. And who and what do I work with, and what is our goal together? Well, like I addressed earlier, I work with both men and women. For marketing purposes, my target audience is a woman between the ages of 28 and 45. I work with women all over the map. I've worked with, 70-year-old women, and I've worked with children and pets, and a lot of the work that I do actually is with the earth itself. But for Mama Bear Medicine and for marketing purposes, my goal is to help women reconnect with something that I call the gift of the feather. So there are indigenous creation stories that talk about how humans were first engineered by the gods to be beasts of burden. We were here to mine gold and other resources from this planet. And then there was another group of beings who came along and gifted us the gift of the feather. They gave us a piece of their DNA that allowed us the opportunity for a volitional heat cycle. And so humans are mammals, right? And most mammals have seasonal heat cycles. And that means that obviously that you get hot under the collar, you want to make love, maybe in rampantly in the spring and a little bit in the fall, and we have our babies at a certain time. But for humans, we are not tethered to the seasonal heat cycles. Yes, they do influence us, but with a volitional heat cycle, we can just think of something sexy and get turned on. And that is freedom. So we get to have sex and make babies whenever we want. And so part of the gift of the feather is the pleasure that we experience in sex and sensuality. It's the orgasm. There's a woman named Barbara Hand Clow. She is a Pleiadian channeler. And in some of her books, she claims that the human woman's orgasm spins the galaxies on their axis. And I love that idea. I love that thought. So the work that I do is to help women reconnect with themselves and reconnect with their passion. So that's another part of this gift of the feather, that our ability to create art, create whatever, even if it's creating spreadsheets, and that's a passion for you, that's the gift of the feather. This is our connection to our godlike capacities. This is how we're created in God's image. Um, it's to be able to create like that. Um, so, I talked earlier about, what do you want to eat for dinner? What do you want to wear for today? Where do you want to go on vacation? What do I want to do with my life? They're all the same question. You have to be in touch with your body. You have to know how to be pleasured to be able to answer any of those things. And there's so much that comes up for women, for anybody, but primarily for women these days, to not only know what you want, but then to ask for it in a good way. Um, and that takes practice. So that's what I'm here to do. And the reason for that is because obviously humanity is at a major crisis point right now. The Western mind has, and maybe I shouldn't blame it on the Western mind. Let's just say that this is a part, perhaps, of human evolution and growth that has gotten us to the place that we're at right now. And for us to get ourselves out of this, it's going to take the feminine learning how to take the reins again. So this is part of the tantric teaching that I have learned, is that the feminine is like the navigator. And she goes, I want to go to Chez Panisse for dinner tonight. And she says that to the masculine. Oh, let's go to Chez Panisse for dinner tonight. That would feel so good and lovely and yum, yum, yum. And the masculine goes, oh, really? You want to go to Chez Panisse? Let's go. And he makes the reservations and he gets in the car and puts our ass in there and he drives us to the restaurant and we eat it up and we digest it. We say, thank you so much. So that's like the healthy interplay between the masculine and the feminine. The feminine says, this is where I want to go, and the masculine is the motor that gets us there. And this plays out inside of our own body. We all have the Ida and the Pingala inside of us, and our goal as humans is to have the sacred marriage inside of us and to find balance with the masculine and feminine inside of us. But we are at a point in human history, where women have been denied their agency and sovereignty for 6,500 years. We have been denied equal partnership And that time, it's time to come to an end. So, a lot of my goal with Mama Bear Medicine is to help individual women and then hopefully collectively groups of women get connected with their bodies, get connected with their passion, heal up enough to be able to lead in a good way. It is the feminine's responsibility to lead the charge. We have the reins. We hold the reins. Whether we accept that position or not, we still hold the reins of this runaway cart. So, if there's going to be any chance of human survival on this planet, it's going to take women coming into their own power. And to me, that looks like leading with a soft heart. It would be very easy for us to fall into a space of anger and blame and nastiness, and we're very good at it. And the goal is to be able to stand side by side with our male counterparts, with our own masculine counterparts, to be effective leaders, to get shit done, to change the course of where we're at. And what a perfect way to wrap up this live today. It's going to take some real leadership to get this country through its Pluto return and to set us on a path that is compassionate for all of this country's participants, not just the rich ones, not just the white ones, and not just the male ones, but all of us. And not just the humans, but all of life in this country and on this planet. So that is the work that Mama Bear does. By retrieving those lost parts of your soul, by helping you to experience more pleasure in sex, by helping you figure out what work you want to do in this lifetime and how to advocate for yourself and your children, um, and whatever else comes up in session, by just healing up all of you. My goal is that we have strong, aware, powerful female leaders to help us self-actualize as a species. It's time. I love you. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And I hope that that answers some of your questions about Mama Bear Medicine and what it is that we do together, and how we work together with each other in the future. I really look forward to hearing from you. So if you are watching this on a replay, and you have any questions, please reach out to me. I am always available. Send me an email, send me a text, get on the website and send a message through there. Follow me on Instagram, befriend me on Facebook. I'm kind of leaning away from Facebook a little bit more these days. Instagram is really where it's at for me. But I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to experience this magic for yourself, man or woman, young or old, hit me up. Let's work something out. Okay. I love you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.